Item number SCP-3728, Object Class Safe, Special Containment Procedures. All 231 instances of SCP-3728 are kept in a secure locker within Site-77. All tests involving SCP-3728 require Level 2 approval and are restricted to D-Class. D-Class subject to testing may only be struck with SCP-3728 a maximum of 3 times. Description: SCP-3728 are 231 large squeaky clown hammers produced by Beep Incorporated. Each hammer is composed of a long red shaft with several serrations and a double head, blue in coloration and ringed edges. SCP-3728 is non-anomalous when used to strike most surfaces. SCP-3728's primary anomalous effect manifests when either of the two heads are used to strike a human subject. The head of the hammer will exert a random, disproportionate force larger than that exerted, regardless of how hard the object swung, and in what manner its head makes contact with the human subject. SCP-3728's primary effect defies normal physical expectations, most especially when producing forces that would otherwise result in severe physical trauma. Note: repeated testing and physical measurement with equipment normally utilized in particle accelerators indicate the creation of a relativistic bubble around struck individuals, even at lower force impacts, which proportionately counteracts the most severe effects of high force strikes. It should be noted that this bubble does not appear to protect subjects from impact or collision with objects at such speeds that their molecules become intertwined. SCP-3728's secondary anomalous effects manifest approximately 2 minutes post-impact. Individuals will be rendered blind, deaf, or mute for a random period of time. The exact effect rendered and the exact duration have no correlation to any known factors other than the number of times an individual has been struck using a single hammer. SCP-3728's tertiary anomalous effect involves the amplifications of the primary and secondary effects upon each successive strike with the object, due to the highly erratic and potentially dangerous nature of the object's tertiary effects. Further testing with D-Class has been limited to 3 strikes. See Experiment Log E-3728. Discovery: Foundation personnel became aware of SCP-3728 following repeated police reports involving a number of adults, adolescents, and children suffering from symptoms congruent from being struck by the object. Multiple examples from these reports include the sudden disappearance of and fusion of individuals with solid objects, animals, or persons. Areas documented as having received a shipment of SCP-3728 also reported an increase of symptoms concurrent with the object's secondary effects. Foundation probes orbiting Neptune and its moons detected a number of corpses in the orbit of Triton shortly after discovery of these reports. All corpses with remaining distinguishable features have been identified as prior owners of instances of SCP-3728. Further investigation by Foundation personnel traced SCP-3728 back to a single allotment of hammers produced by Beep Incorporated at a toy factory just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. Upon interrogation and record inspection, 32 previously undocumented employees were discovered to have clocked in each day during the week of SCP-3728's production. Cross-examination of public databases revealed that no individuals matching the names or physical descriptions of said employees existed. When questioned, factory floor managers indicated that said employees have worked at the site for the entirety of their employment history, while claiming no knowledge of the current status or whereabouts of said individuals. Analysis of receipts and financial records indicate that all 221 instances of SCP-3728 were sold to households containing 2 or more children aged 4 to 10. 31 of the objects were recovered at locations other than the indicated residence of said individuals. Note, including 2 elementary schools, a public daycare center, and the children's wings of 3 separate hospitals. All individuals subject to or witness of SCP-3728's effects have been treated with Class A amnestics as per containment procedures. Experiment Log E-3728. The following sections of this document contains all experiment logs relating to SCP-3728. It should be noted that all experiments occurred prior to current containment procedures in a standard testing chamber. Modifications to further testing protocols are noted at the end of each test. Prior to each experiment, the subject was equipped with a spatio-temporal absolute location key reader, or stalker, device, and a specially designed force meter. Test name, operator, subject, number of times previously hit, instructions, result. E-3728-1. Operator, D-34501. Subject, D-356702. Number of times previously hit, 0. Instructions. D-34501 was instructed to strike D-356702 with SCP-3728 using a full swing. Result. D-356702 was subjected to force equivalent to a small hand grenade. The resulting force incapacitated D-34501 while lifting D-356702 into the air roughly 12 centimeters and propelling her backwards 72 centimeters. Attempts to question D-356702 about her current physical condition were met with confusion and panic, resulting in the subject's sedation due to loss of hearing, which lasted for 2 hours and 17 minutes. A small dent was noted in the testing chamber floor. E-3728-2. Operator, D-34501. Subject, D-356702. Number of times previously hit, 1. Instructions. D-34501 was instructed to tap D-356702 with SCP-3728. Result. D-356702 relativistic bubble collides with the northernmost wall of the testing chamber following the tap. The subject's force meter registered an exertion equivalent to the impact of a 155mm howitzer shell, resulting in a concussive blast which killed D-34501 upon impact. D-3566702 attempted to respond to post-testing questioning, but was unable to form words, resulting in a series of grunts and distressed squeals. Loss of speech lasted 15 days. Testing was temporarily halted due to severe damage to the floor, ceiling, and walls of the testing chamber, and removed the remnants of D-34501. Subject displayed mild signs of physical trauma, including slight bruising. Following this, future tests were conducted using a remote-controlled robotic arm. The testing chamber was upgraded with blast-resistant materials composed of reinforced concrete. E-3728-3. Operator, robotic arm by Level 2 researcher Dr. O'Brien's. Subject, D-3566702. Number of times previously hit, 2. Instructions. Dr. O'Brien's was instructed to strike D-3566702 with SCP-3728 using a half-swing. Result. SCP-3728 testing facility was destroyed in a concussive blast. Security footage stored electronic force meter readings and recorded stalker measurements have allowed personnel to reconstruct the events which lead to the destruction of the facility. D-356702 came in contact with SCP-3728's head, which promptly unleashed a force of 10 million newtons, enough force to propel a 100-kilogram individual to escape velocity. Launching D-356702 through the facility's walls shortly before the explosive force destroyed them. 5 research personnel and 32 D-class were killed in the resulting blast. Due to immediate ejection from the atmosphere, it is currently not known what physical trauma D-356702 suffered post-strike. Note: life sign monitoring indicated that the heart monitoring system was destroyed upon impact. However, brainwave tracking indicated continued activity for approximately 3 hours post-atmospheric escape. Current stalker readings have pinpointed D-356702's corpse in orbit around Jupiter. Following this test, a specialized facility was constructed using materials harvested from data expunged under the belief that such materials would be sufficient to prevent further explosive events when testing with SCP-3728. E-3728-4 and 5. Operator, robotic arm by Level 2 researcher Dr. Samuels. Subjects: D-368210 and D-367739. Number of times previously hit redacted. Instructions: Dr. Samuels was instructed to strike both D-Class with SCP-3728 at full swing. Result: Test 4. D-368210 was struck first, after having been secured to the testing facility floor following violent protest. The subject's force meter was unable to quantify the resulting force, and D-368210 vanished upon impact. No significant damages to the facility or nearby personnel were noted, though a number of individuals in Site-77's primary compound complained of headaches and reported a tingling feeling at the time of testing, with one member of the janitorial staff having reported a blur. D-368210 was later located 3 kilometers from Site-77 in a large rock formation. The subject had become fused with the rocks at the knees and was suffering from several concussions and multiple muscular degeneration after being removed via amputation. Result: Test 5. D-367739 was struck with SCP-3728, at which point an aberration in the known pattern of force direction occurred. The subject experienced a force of 100 newtons from behind, pushing them onto the robotic arm and the head of the hammer. D-367739 and the hammer became fused and dematerialized. Current stalker readings indicate D-367739's presence at all locations within a 1 light-year radius. For Test 6, a speedometer capable of measuring velocities approaching and exceeding the speed of light was attached to the subject. E-37286. Operator, robotic arm by Level 2 researcher Dr. Samuels. Subject: D-456692. Number of times previously hit: 8. Instructions: Dr. Samuels was instructed to tap D-456692 with SCP-3728. Results: D-456692 was forcibly strapped to the floor of the testing chamber after repeated violent protests, at one point knocking out a member of security. Upon contact with the hammer's head, the force meter was unable to properly quantify the exerted force and partly shorted out. The speedometer registered a velocity of 1.135 e to the 9th power for 0.1 seconds before it also stopped producing measurements. Stalker readings failed 0.2 seconds following physical contact. Despite this, D456692 remained visible within the chamber and was assumed unharmed and still present. However, when personnel entered the chamber and attempted to interact with D456692, they discovered that the subject and his restraints were no longer present. Instead, the apparent visual image of the subject separated into a blue and red shifted visual remnant. An initial sweep of Site-77 was unable to locate the subject, resulting in a second sweep covering an area 2 light-years in diameter, centered around the Earth, which also failed to locate D456692. Further testing with D-Class has been suspended to a maximum of 3 strikes. Site Director Gillespie. Update June 13th, 2017. D456692 was located by elements of Multi-U and designated Alternate Universe U1135, a parallel universe home to a biological entity known to assimilate any and all organic matter it comes in contact with. Reports indicate that D456692 appeared approximately 1 week after being struck and was detected by the Foundation probe. Investigation into the temporal effects of SCP-3728 are ongoing.